I walked into the restaurant with a knot in my stomach. My sister Emma's birthday dinner. Any other year, I'd be excited, but tonight all I felt was dread. The waiter led me to our table where my parents and relatives were already seated, with Emma at the center of attention as usual. "Lucy, finally," my mom called out, "we were about to order without you." Emma, now turning 28, flashed that smile she always uses when she wants something. "Hey sis, glad you could make it." I gave her a quick hug and sat down at the empty seat they'd saved for me. My dad was already 2 drinks in, laughing too loudly at something my uncle said. My mom was fussing over Emma's hair, and my cousin was showing everyone pictures of her new baby. I should probably introduce myself. I'm Lucy, 36 years old, working as a marketing director at a tech company. I've always been the responsible one in the family, especially when it comes to Emma. For the past 10 years, I've been her safety net, paid for her college, helped her get a job at my friend's company, fronted the cash for her car, and for the past 5 years, I've been paying her rent. Why? Because that's what family does, apparently. At least, that's what my parents have drilled into me since Emma was born. "She's your little sister, Lucy, you need to look out for her." And I did, I still do, but sometimes I wonder if I've done too much. "Let's order," my dad announced, waving over the server, and then it's present time. The dinner itself was fine. We ate overpriced pasta, drank decent wine, and listened to Emma talk about her job at the marketing agency where I'd helped her get hired. She'd been there 3 years and was totally due for a promotion soon, the same thing she'd been saying for the last year and a half. When it came time for presents, my aunt gave Emma a designer scarf, my parents gave her a new iPad, and then it was my turn. I reached into my purse and pulled out the envelope containing a symbolic check for her Hawaii vacation. The real money, all $12,000 of it, had already been transferred to her account 3 weeks ago. "This is from me," I said, sliding the envelope across the table. Emma opened it with a theatrical gasp. "Oh my God, Lucy's paying for my Hawaii trip," she announced to the table, dabbing at non-existent tears. "This is so generous of you." Everyone at the table applauded while I forced a smile. If only they knew how that gift had come about. 3 weeks ago, I was at my parents' house for our regular Sunday dinner. Everything was normal until Emma cleared her throat during dessert. "So," she said, "I've been thinking about what I want for my birthday this year." My mom beamed. "What is it, sweetie?" "I want to go to Hawaii, after my birthday, it would be amazing." Then she looked directly at me, "And Lucy's going to pay for it as my gift." I nearly choked on my coffee. "What?" "Yeah, you're always saying how you want me to travel more, experience things. This would be perfect." I set down my cup. "Emma, how much does a trip like that cost?" She waved her hand dismissively. "Not that much, like $12,000. $12,000, I couldn't keep the shock out of my voice. "It's not that much for you," Emma said, her tone instantly changing. "You make plenty of money." "That's an extremely expensive gift, Emma," I said carefully. "I can't afford that." "Can't afford it? Or just don't want to spend it on me?" Her eyes narrowed. "You're so cheap, Lucy. You make 6 figures and you're too selfish to give your only sister a decent birthday present." "Emma, I paid for your entire college education. I helped you buy your car. I'm currently paying your rent. I've been supporting you for a decade." "That's what family does," she shouted, standing up. "We don't count the money we spend on each other." "God, you're so bitter." My parents just sat there, saying nothing as Emma stormed out of the room. When the front door slammed, I turned to them. "You can't seriously think I should pay for this?" My dad frowned. "Lucy, you do earn more than she does. And you know she's always wanted to go to Hawaii," my mom added. "I have my own expenses," I protested. "I'm trying to save for my future too." "Your sister needs your help," my dad said firmly. "Family comes first." I left their house that night feeling like I was losing my mind. Was I crazy for thinking a $12,000 vacation was an unreasonable gift? For the next week, my phone buzzed constantly with texts from both Emma and my parents. Emma is so upset you don't think she deserves this. She works so hard and just wants one nice vacation. You have more than enough money to help your sister. Don't be selfish, Lucy. I held out for as long as I could, but after days of this, I finally broke. I transferred the money to Emma's account with a simple text, "Happy birthday. Enjoy Hawaii." Her response? "Thanks. Knew you'd come through." And now here I was, watching everyone praise my generosity, completely unaware it had been practically extorted from me. As Emma soaked in the attention, showing everyone the resort where she'd be staying, I felt a small sense of relief. At least this was over. I could go back to my life, and Emma would get her perfect vacation. Emma flew to Hawaii 2 days after her birthday party. I went back to my normal routine, working, hitting the gym, and finally getting some peace and quiet without constant demands from my family. For the first time in weeks, I could breathe. My phone buzzed constantly with Instagram notifications. Emma was making sure everyone knew exactly how amazing her vacation was. Sunrise yoga on the beach. Expensive cocktails at resort bars. Designer swimsuits posed perfectly against turquoise waters. Each photo captioned with some variation of "living my best life" or "paradise found." I scrolled through them while eating takeout in my apartment, feeling a mix of annoyance and relief that at least she was enjoying the vacation I'd paid for. "Check out Emma's posts," my mom texted. "Doesn't she look happy? You did a good thing, Lucy." I didn't respond. They always did this, made me feel guilty, then praised me once I gave in, as if that somehow balanced the scales. A week into Emma's vacation, I was at work finalizing a presentation when my phone rang, my parents' number. Unusual for them to call during work hours. "Hello? Lucy," my mom's voice sounded strange, shaky. "It's Emma, there's been an accident." My stomach dropped. What happened? Is she okay? She was on some mountain tour, my mom explained, her voice cracking. She climbed up on a rock to take a selfie and she fell into a gorge. Oh my God, I stood up from my desk, already grabbing my purse. How bad is it? She's alive, my dad's voice now. They must have put me on speaker. Broken leg, some cuts and bruises. They're saying she was lucky. Which hospital? I'll book a flight right now. No need for that, my mom said quickly. The doctors say she's stable. She'll be coming home in a couple of weeks once she's cleared to fly. Something in her tone made me pause. Let me talk to her. She's resting now, but I'll have her call you when she wakes up. I hung up and immediately tried calling Emma's cell. To my surprise, she answered. What? Her voice was cold, flat. Emma, are you okay? Mom and Dad just told me what happened. I'm in the hospital, can't talk now. Her voice sounded distant, almost hostile. Do you need anything? Should I come? She cut me off. No, I have to go. The line went dead. I stared at my phone, confused. I'd expected her to be upset or in pain, but not angry. I couldn't understand why she was being so cold with me. For the next 2 weeks, I tried calling her several times, but she either didn't answer or spoke briefly before hanging up. My parents gave me updates, but they were strangely vague. Something wasn't right, but I couldn't put my finger on what. When Emma was finally scheduled to return, I offered to pick her up from the airport. Actually, my mom said hesitantly, Emma asked if we could come get her instead. But why? I can help with her luggage, get her settled at home. She'd prefer if we helped her this time. I backed off, hurt and confused, but assuming Emma was just in pain and irritable. Over the next week, I sent her texts checking in, offering to bring food or help with anything she needed while recovering. Her responses were minimal. Fine, no thanks, don't need anything. Then, exactly 1 week after her return, I opened my email to find something unexpected. A medical bill. From Hawaii Regional Medical Center. Amount due, $15,000. At first, I thought it was a mistake. Why would Emma's medical bills come to me? I dialed her number immediately. Why did you send me your hospital bill? I asked when she picked up. Because you're paying it, she replied matter-of-factly. I laughed, thinking she was joking. Very funny. Seriously, why did you forward this to me? I'm not joking, Lucy, this is your responsibility. My responsibility? How exactly is your medical bill my responsibility? You paid for the trip, she said, her voice hardening. If you hadn't sent me to Hawaii, I wouldn't have gotten hurt. I nearly dropped my phone. Are you serious right now? You wanted that trip, you begged for it. You climbed a rock to take a selfie. And you paid for it, she shouted. Which makes you liable. If you don't pay this bill, I'll sue you and get the money anyway. Sue me? Have you lost your mind? This is insane, Emma. Whatever, you have the bill, pay it by the end of the month. Her tone was so dismissive, so entitled, I could hardly believe it was my sister speaking. I'm not paying a cent, I said firmly, this is ridiculous. We'll see about that, she snapped before hanging up. I paced around my apartment, too angry to sit still. How dare she? After everything I'd done for her over the years, now she expected me to foot the bill for her own carelessness? I thought back to how they'd pressured me into paying for the vacation in the first place, the constant texts, the guilt trips, the family dinner ambush. When I'd calmed down enough to think clearly, I called my parents. Surely they would see how unreasonable Emma was being. Mom, Dad, did you know Emma sent me her medical bill and is demanding I pay it? There was a pause, too long to be anything but meaningful. Well, my dad finally said, her travel insurance didn't cover all the treatment. And, I prompted. And she doesn't have that kind of money, my mom added softly. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Are you saying you think I should pay it? You did pay for the trip, honey, my mom said. And you know Emma's still struggling financially. This is insane, I said, I'm not paying for her hospital bills. That's not how this works. Lucy, be reasonable, my dad started. No, absolutely not, I'm done. I hung up and threw my phone onto the couch. Within minutes, it started buzzing with messages. From my parents, please reconsider, family helps family, don't be selfish. And from Emma, hope you're ready to go to court, selfish bastard, pathetic spinster with nothing better to do than count your money. Each message made my blood boil hotter than the last. I was done being their ATM, done being manipulated into footing the bill for everything. I sat at my kitchen table, shaking with anger as I scrolled through Emma's texts. The names she called me, greedy, selfish, bitter spinster, each one hurt more than the last. 10 years of support, and this was how she repaid me. I opened my laptop and logged into my bank account. I needed to know exactly how much I'd spent on Emma over the years. My fingers moved quickly through folders of financial records I'd thankfully kept organized. College tuition, $42,000 for 4 years at state. Car payment, $9,500, half of her Honda. Rent payments, $1,250 per month for 5 years, $75,000. I kept digging, emergency dental work when she cracked a tooth. The professional wardrobe I bought when she started her job. The loan for her security deposit that was never repaid. The list grew longer, the total higher. By the time I finished, I was staring at a number that made me feel physically ill, $138,720. $138,720. More than enough for a down payment on a house. Or my own dream vacation, or a significant chunk of retirement savings. Instead, it had all gone to Emma. And now she wanted more. I opened a new email and attached a PDF with all the expenses neatly itemized and totaled. In the subject line, I wrote, payment due. In the body of the email, Emma, attached is a complete accounting of all expenses I've covered for you over the past 10 years, total, $138,720. You have 3 months to repay this amount in full, or I will pursue legal action to recover these funds. Lucy. I hit send before I could second guess myself. My hands were trembling, but for the first time in years, it wasn't from anxiety, It was from a strange sense of power. Less than 30 minutes later, my phone exploded with notifications. Calls from my parents. Texts from Emma. Voicemails filling up my inbox. I silenced it all. Instead, I opened my banking app and navigated to my scheduled payments. There it was, Emma's rent, $1,250, scheduled for the 1st. I canceled it with a single tap, then I blocked my parents' and Emma's numbers. For good measure, I blocked them on all social media too. That night, I slept better than I had in years. 3 days passed in blissful silence. I went to work, met a friend for coffee, even signed up for a pottery class I'd been wanting to try. It was as if a weight had been lifted from my shoulders. Then came the knock at my door. I looked through the peephole to see Emma leaning on a crutch, her leg in a cast, flanked by our parents. Their faces were grim. For a moment, I considered not answering. But this confrontation was inevitable. I took a deep breath and opened the door. "Lucy," my mom started, "we need to talk." "Come in," I said flatly, stepping aside. Emma hobbled in, making a show of wincing with every step. My dad helped her to the couch while my mom hovered anxiously. "What's this?" My dad thrust his phone at me, showing my email to Emma. "It's an invoice," I replied simply, "for all the money I've spent supporting Emma over the years." "You can't be serious," my mom said, her voice rising. "Family helps family. You can't just demand she pay you back everything." I looked directly at Emma. "Why not? She's demanding I pay her medical bills." My parents exchanged uncomfortable glances. Emma stared at the floor. "That's different," my dad attempted. "How?" I challenged. "Explain to me how it's different." Silence filled the room. "You see," I continued, "it's only different because you all expect me to give and give, but the moment I ask for anything in return, even just basic gratitude, I'm being selfish." "We never said," my mom began. "You said it plenty," I cut her off. "Every time you pressured me to pay for something else. Every time you dismissed my concerns about money. Every time you made me feel guilty for having boundaries." Emma finally spoke, her voice quiet. "I'm not suing you. Okay? I'll figure something out with the medical bills." "Good," I nodded. "Because if you did sue me, I'd countersue for every penny I've spent on you. And I have records of it all." "You've made your point," my dad said stiffly. "Now can we move past this? We're family." "Yes, we are. Which is why I have something else to tell you all." I took a deep breath. "I've canceled my payment for Emma's rent. And I won't be providing any financial assistance to any of you going forward." Emma's face crumpled. "What?" "But I can't afford my apartment without your help." "You'll figure it out," I said, echoing her own dismissive tone from our phone call. "Get a roommate, move to a cheaper place, ask for a raise, there are options." "You're just going to cut me off, after all these years?" Tears welled in her eyes. "This is cruel, Lucy," my mom said, her voice breaking. "Your sister needs you." "No, what's cruel is treating me like an ATM for a decade and then demanding more when I finally say enough is enough." Emma was fully crying now, those same tears she'd used to manipulate me countless times before. My parents looked at me like I was a stranger. "I don't want to be your bank anymore," I said, moving toward the door and opening it. "I think you should leave now." My dad helped Emma up, supporting her as she hobbled toward the exit. My mom lingered, her expression a mix of anger and disbelief. "You've changed, Lucy," she said softly. "Yes," I agreed, "I finally have." The next few weeks were strange. The silence from my family created both a void and a freedom I wasn't used to. I filled my newly available time with things I enjoyed, reading, hiking, reconnecting with old friends who'd faded into the background while I was constantly handling Emma's crises. I started therapy, trying to understand the dynamics that had led to this situation. Why had I let it go on so long? Why did I feel responsible for everyone else's happiness? Just as I was starting to find my footing in this new reality, my assistant buzzed my office intercom. "Lucy, your sister is here to see you." I closed my eyes, centering myself. "Tell her I'm in a meeting. She says it's urgent, and, she's making quite a scene in reception." Of course she was. Emma never could take no for an answer. "Send her in," I sighed. The door opened, and there was Emma, still in her cast, looking as pitiful as possible. She'd dressed down, I noticed immediately, worn jeans, a plain t-shirt, minimal makeup. The opposite of her usual polished appearance. A calculated move to appear desperate and broke. "Lucy," she said, her voice catching dramatically, "please, I need to talk to you." "What do you want, Emma?" I asked, gesturing for her to sit down. She lowered herself into the chair across from my desk, adjusting her crutches against the wall. Her eyes were red-rimmed, her hair pulled back in a messy ponytail instead of her usual perfect blowout. "I can't pay my rent," she said, her voice small. "They're going to evict me." I leaned back in my chair. "That's unfortunate." "Lucy, please, I need you to reconsider. Just until I can figure something out. I don't have anywhere else to go." "What about Mom and Dad's place?" She grimaced. "Their house is so small, and with my leg like this." She gestured at her cast. "I need my own space to recover." "You mean you need me to continue paying for your lifestyle?" "It's not like that," she insisted, her voice rising slightly. Then, seemingly remembering her strategy, she softened again. "I'm struggling, I really am. I can barely afford groceries right now. Emma, do you have any idea how much money I've spent supporting you over the years?" "I know, and I'm grateful, I really am." A single tear rolled down her cheek, right on cue. "If you were grateful, you wouldn't have tried to stick me with your medical bills. You wouldn't have called me names when I refused." I was in pain, I wasn't thinking clearly. I sighed, feeling suddenly tired of this endless cycle. "The answer is still no, I'm not paying your rent anymore." Her face changed then, the vulnerability vanishing. She straightened up, eyes narrowing. "Fine, you know what? You're going to regret this." And then she started to sob, loudly, dramatically. My office walls were thin, and I knew everyone outside could hear. "Everyone's going to know what you did," she cried, voice rising. "How you abandoned your own sister when she was injured. When she had nowhere to go." A few curious faces appeared in the glass wall of my office. "Great. Stop it, Emma. You're heartless," she wailed, "after everything we've been through." I picked up my phone and pressed the button for security. "Yes, Ms. Wilson? Could you please come to my office? I have someone who needs to be escorted out." Emma's eyes widened in disbelief. "You're calling security on me? Your own sister?" "Yes," I said calmly. "And if you ever try to come to my workplace and make a scene again, I'll get a restraining order." The security guard, Ramon, appeared at my door. "Everything okay, Ms. Wilson?" "My sister was just leaving," I said. "Could you please make sure she exits the building? And she's not to be allowed back in." Ramon nodded, stepping into the office. "Ma'am, I'll need you to come with me." Emma grabbed her crutches, glaring at me with such hatred it was almost impressive. "This isn't over." "Yes, it is," I replied. "It's been over for a while, I just didn't realize it until now." After she left, I closed my office door and took a few deep breaths. My hands were shaking, but not from regret, from relief. I'd finally done it. I'd finally stood up for myself. That was 4 months ago. I haven't spoken to Emma or my parents since that day. Through mutual relatives, I've heard bits and pieces. Emma couldn't afford her apartment and moved back in with our parents. They're all still furious with me, telling anyone who'll listen how I abandoned the family when they needed me most. But for the first time in my adult life, I'm living completely for myself. I've moved to a nicer apartment, started a retirement fund, and even booked my own vacation for later this year, to Japan, a place I've always wanted to visit. Sometimes I feel guilty, especially late at night when memories of happier family times surface. I wonder if I was too harsh, too final in my decision to cut them off. Then I remember the look on Emma's face when I refused to pay her medical bills, not shock or hurt, but anger that her manipulation hadn't worked. I remember my parents always taking her side, always expecting me to give more. I remember 10 years of being treated like nothing more than a checkbook. Last week, I ran into my cousin at the grocery store. She asked how I was doing, said my parents had told her I was going through something. I laughed and told her I was doing better than ever. "But aren't you lonely?" she asked, genuine concern in her voice. "Without your family?" I thought about it for a moment before answering. "I was lonelier when I was with them," I said finally. "Because they never really saw me. Just what I could do for them." She didn't understand. Maybe no one who hasn't been in my position really can. Yesterday, I got a text from an unknown number. It was Emma. "Hey, it's me, got a new phone. Can we talk? I miss you." I stared at it for a long time, feeling the old pull. The urge to fix things, to make everyone happy. To be the responsible one again. Instead, I typed, "I'm not interested in resuming contact unless you're ready to acknowledge how you treated me and apologize." Then I blocked the number. Maybe someday we'll find our way back to some kind of relationship. One with boundaries, respect, and actual reciprocity. But I'm not holding my breath, and I'm not putting my life on hold waiting for it to happen. For now, I'm enjoying the freedom of not being anyone's ATM. Of making decisions based solely on what I want and need. Of discovering who I am outside of being Emma's sister and my parents' dutiful daughter. It turns out, I like that person quite a bit. She's stronger than I ever gave her credit for.